You wake up to the sound of voices outside, muffled half-sung chants, mixing with the soft clatter of hooves on stone. The sunlight has already filtered through the holes in your shutter, thin and dust-speckled. It lands on the bare stone floor beside your cot, like a quiet invitation time to get up. The room smells of warm hay, old feet, and cheap wine. Your mattress is made of straw and something that crunches whenever you move. You shift slightly, and a stalk pokes your lower back. You scratch it lazily, still half asleep. You stretch only to bump your hand against the rough plaster wall beside you. The cot is barely wide enough to turn over. Your blanket is a single wool sheet, scratchy but warmer than it looks. You're not sure if it was originally grey, or if time and dust made it so. Your body aches, not in a sharp, alarming way, but in the kind of dull, slow burn that tells you you've been sleeping on uneven stone for too many nights. You sit up carefully. The air is cooler than you'd like. Morning in Rome is gentle, but not warm, not yet. You can hear the bakery down the alley firing up again. The faint scent of old flour and charcoal drifts through the cracks in the shutters. A dog barks. Somewhere someone is shouting in Latin, something about deliveries being late. Today you've promised yourself you'd go. You've heard the baths help loosen stiff muscles, that it's not just a place to wash, but to be reborn. People talk about it like it's a rite of passage, a place to become clean in both body and spirit. But you don't feel ready, not entirely. Still you rise. You reach for the tunic crumpled at the edge of your cot. It's stiff with yesterday's sweat, but you shake it out and slip it over your head. You tug the cloth belt around your waist, tie it in a knot that's slightly off-center. The sandals go on next, worn with one strap broken and re-knotted in a clumsy loop. They'll do. You splash your face with water from the clay basin near the door. The water is cold, having sat there overnight. It smells faintly of tin and mildew. You blink the sting away. Your bag is light, just a coin purse, a dull knife, and the folded towel someone gave you when you said you'd try the baths. You sling it over your shoulder and duck under the doorway. The street greets you like a slap. It's busy already. Merchants arguing over barrels, a man pushing a wheelbarrow of dead fish, a child running barefoot, laughing, holding what looks like a dead rat by the tail. Pigeons scatter. The sun is brighter out here and warmer, yes, but also less forgiving. The scent of city life hits you in waves: urine, spilt wine, wet leather, and burning olive oil. You head south, past the forum, past the temple with its long, cracked steps. People are everywhere, shouting, praying, selling, cleaning. It's loud but not chaotic. The noise moves like a tide, rising and falling in perfect rhythm with the cobbled streets. You pass a man relieving himself into a drainage ditch. He glances at you unfazed, as if to say, "What else would I do?" Eventually you see the first sign, Balnea. A carved plaque above a sandstone arch, weather-worn but clear enough. The letters seem to stare at you as you approach, heavy with the weight of all who've passed beneath them. You've heard there are larger ones, grander ones, the Thermae built by emperors. But this, the public bathhouse near your quarter, will be your first. The steps are slick with water and time. You place your foot carefully, not wanting to slip, and become a spectacle before even entering. You reach the top. There is a door half open, and from inside you hear what sounds like laughter and shouting, and maybe even chanting. You hesitate. A slave standing near the door watches you with vague amusement. He's holding a basket of towels and looks like he hasn't blinked in 10 minutes. You nod, trying to seem like you belong. He doesn't nod back. Inside, the air shifts. It's warmer, moister. It smells like wet stone, burning oil, old feet, and something sour you can't place. You blink. The light is softer in here, filtered through slits high in the ceiling. You are now standing in the apoditarium, the changing room. The floor is mosaic tiny tiles, forming swirling patterns of dolphins and nymphs. You glance down at your feet and feel instantly self-conscious. Your toenails are chipped. One sandal strap has come loose. You kneel to fix it, feeling the eyes of others on your back. The room is full of people, most of them in varying stages of undress. Some are completely naked, some are still removing their tunics. Others are already oiled their bodies, glistening under the torchlight like polished bronze. A boy no older than 12 is yelling something about stolen sandals. An older man is asleep on a bench, snoring softly, towel draped over only one leg. You suddenly realize there is no modesty here. No privacy, no stalls, no dividers. You are meant to undress fully, in front of everyone. Your hands suddenly feel clumsy as they reach for your belt. You tell yourself this is normal here. You'll get used to it. But you don't get used to it. Not when your tunic comes off, and you feel the air on your skin like 100 invisible eyes. Not when you place your belongings into a small cubby unlocked, unguarded, and pray to whatever household god still listens that your things will be there when you return. A young slave approaches you. He says nothing, only holds out his hand. You realize he wants your coin, the small entry fee. You give it to him with a shaky nod. He disappears as quickly as he arrived. You're now naked. Your feet are on wet stone. You don't know where to go next. But someone gestures toward a doorway ahead. Steam wafts from it, curling like ghostly fingers into the air. That's where you go. The frigidarium, they called it. The cold plunge. You walk slowly, each step echoing. The sound of water dripping somewhere fills the space between your breaths. You aren't sure what to expect. But whatever it is, you're not ready. You take your first careful step into the next chamber, and instantly the floor beneath you changes. It's smoother here, polished with years of foot traffic, but also slick with a thin sheen of water. Your heel slides just slightly, and you flinch instinctively, catching your balance. The air feels colder again. Not sharp like morning air, but more like an underground spring, humid, dense, and indifferent to your bare skin. You cross your arms over your chest, not because you're cold, though you are, but because it feels like a small shield in a place where you have none. The frigidarium. It's quiet in here. The laughter and shouting from the changing room have faded, replaced by the subtle sounds of dripping water and gentle splashes. The room is built of stone, wide and hollow, with a domed ceiling. Light filters in from a circular opening high above a pale shaft, falling directly onto the center of the plunge pool like a divine spotlight. The water looks still. Too still. You step closer and peer down. The pool is deep, probably chest height, and cut from a single slab of marble, its edges worn smooth. The water has a faint blue tint and a strange mineral smell. A man nearby dips his foot in grimaces and then slowly eases himself into the pool with the kind of courage usually reserved for battlefields. He exhales sharply once submerged. Then he turns to look at you and smirks. Your pride stirs. You pretend not to notice his glance. A few others are already inside, some neck-deep, others sitting on the edge, with just their legs immersed. One man holds his breath and plunges under entirely. You hear the splash, the churn, and then see him emerge again, gasping, hair slicked back like a drowned sculpture. You try to steel yourself. Your foot hovers over the edge of the pool for a long moment. You tell yourself it's just water, just cold, just a temporary discomfort. Then you lower it in. The sensation is immediate and brutal. Cold floods up your leg like a living thing, sharp, electric, almost biting. Your breath hitches. The skin on your foot tightens, your toes curl, and your body begins to resist, instinctively trying to pull back. But you don't. You place your second foot in. Now both legs are submerged to the knee. You grip the edge of the pool, knuckles white against the marble. The stone is slick with oil from hundreds of hands before you. You slide in slowly, inch by inch, as the cold creeps up your thighs, your hips, your stomach. By the time it reaches your chest, you are no longer breathing evenly. Your jaw clenches. Your muscles seize up. Your skin stings with an almost burning cold. You feel exposed in a way that goes beyond nakedness. And still you sink lower until the water laps just beneath your chin. You're in. It's supposed to help circulation. It's supposed to wake the body, purify it, prepare it for heat. But all you can think about is how unnatural it feels. How your limbs want to curl into themselves. How your fingers are starting to tingle. Across the pool, an elderly man scratches his stomach and yawns as if he's in a warm bath at home. You envy him. Minutes pass, maybe more. You're not sure. Your body begins to numb, not in a dangerous way, but in the strange, dulling way that makes your own skin feel like borrowed clothing. Eventually you push yourself up, shivering, as the water cascades down your body in tiny rivers. You reach for a cloth nearby, not yours, but no one claims it, and dry yourself enough to stop dripping. The air feels warmer by comparison now, but you're still chilled. Your breath puffs visibly in front of you. Then comes the next doorway. You hesitate again. There's steam rising from it, thicker this time, opaque and curling like smoke. The floor leads up slightly into the warm zone. You can hear the faint crackling of coals and the occasional murmur of voices. The tepidarium, the warm room. They say it's the gentlest one, the middle child between cold and heat. A place to recline and let your body adjust. You step through the arch and feel the temperature shift the moment you cross the threshold. It's warmer, pleasantly so, but not dry. The air is thick with moisture, and each breath feels like inhaling through a damp cloth. The scent is interesting, not unpleasant. A mixture of warm oil, old citrus, damp stone, and something slightly metallic. The room itself is long and rectangular, with high walls and benches along the sides. Most of the men lie sprawled half asleep or murmuring to one another. Their skin glistens with sweat and oil. Some wear towels around their waists, others nothing. No one seems in a rush. No one watches you enter. That somehow makes you more aware of yourself. You walk slowly toward an empty spot on the bench. The stone is warm beneath you. You sit. For the first time since waking, your shoulders begin to relax. A slave boy walks by carrying a pitcher of water and a tray of small clay cups. He offers you one without speaking. You nod and take it. The water is warm, not hot but warm, slightly cloudy, tastes faintly of lime and ash. You drink it anyway. A man beside you, possibly a merchant by the rings on his fingers, turns and begins speaking about some political thing you don't understand. Grain prices, tariffs, a governor who was caught bedding his scribe. You nod, pretending interest, but your mind is elsewhere, mostly focused on the sweat forming in places you didn't know could sweat. You lie back. The bench isn't comfortable, but it doesn't need to be. Your body is beginning to accept this rhythm, now cold, then warmth. A strange ritual. A soft surrender. Your eyes close, just for a moment. A hand taps your shoulder. It's another slave, younger this time. He gestures toward the far end of the room where the steam is densest. You see the orange flicker of flame. You smell burning cedar and olive oil. It's time. The caldarium. The hot room. You rise slower this time. Your skin is flushed. Your chest damp. Your legs feel slightly lighter. As you cross the room, a man steps out of the steam, entirely soaked hair, clinging to his scalp, eyes half closed in satisfaction. You step past him and into the mist. It hits you immediately. Not just heat, but weight. Like the air is thicker here, heavier. Each breath feels like inhaling soup. You wipe your brow, but its pointless new sweat forms instantly. The caldarium is smaller, more intimate. The walls glisten. The floor is hot underfoot. You tiptoe, almost dancing, as you try to find a cooler spot to stand. There isn't one. In the corner, a pile of rocks sits above glowing coals. A slave tends to them, pouring water from a bronze bowl onto the rocks. Each splash releases a hiss so sharp, it feels like it cuts the air itself. Steam rolls across the room in waves. You sit on a stone ledge, careful not to touch the wall. It's too hot. Your body reacts before your mind can stop it. You wince. A large man with a thick beard groans contentedly nearby and stretches his arms wide, his stomach folding in 3 wet, shining rolls. Someone begins humming. You lean back, chest heaving slowly. The caldarium is meant to purge you, to drive out all weakness, all stiffness, all doubt. It does something else. It makes you feel very, very mortal. Your pulse quickens. Your skin is red. Your head pounds slightly. You want to leave, but doing so feels like an admission of weakness. And so you stay. You stay until the heat wraps around you like a punishment. Until your thoughts slow. Until your sweat no longer runs but clings. Then finally you rise. Your foot slips slightly as you move toward the exit. The stone is slick again. A hand reaches out to steady you, It belongs to a stranger and they say nothing. You nod in thanks, still panting. Outside, the tepidarium feels like spring. You stagger back to your bench, collapse onto it, and laugh softly. You survived the caldarium. Barely. You sit slumped on the warm stone bench of the tepidarium. Your limbs slack, your breath slow and shallow. Every inch of your skin glistens with sweat and condensation, a sheen that seems to pull heat into your bones and then melt it back out again. You feel disassembled, as if your body has lost the usual boundaries between flesh and vapor. The caldarium stripped something from you, maybe dignity, maybe balance, maybe just the last layer of chill from the frigidarium. You're not sure, but you do know this: you're not the same person who walked in earlier. You lean back and exhale, listening to the quiet hum of conversation in the background. The room buzzes with low voices, murmurs in Latin and Greek, punctuated by the occasional wet slap of footsteps or the hollow clink of bronze cups. A thin trail of steam winds lazily from your elbow, curls upward and disappears. You watch it for a while, eyes unfocused, letting your breathing fall into a soft rhythm. Your heartbeat has slowed again. Your hands have stopped trembling. And just as you start to think you've survived the worst part of the bathhouse experience, someone touches your shoulder. You flinch. The man is smiling vaguely. His teeth are yellowed but intact. He says something quickly, too quickly. You catch a few words: oleum, strigilis, nunc, oil, strigil, now. You nod slowly. That much at least you understand. He beckons and you stand, legs stiff, knees aching. You follow him through a narrow corridor that connects the tepidarium to a smaller chamber. The smell changes subtly as you cross the threshold from sweat and steam to something more medicinal, more pungent. The strigiling room, the place where you will be scraped clean. You've heard stories, but they never quite prepared you for this. The chamber is smaller than the others, low-ceilinged, intimate, almost claustrophobic. The stone walls are darker here, stained from years of oil and body residue. A large clay pot of warm olive oil sits in the corner, its surface shimmering under the torchlight. Your attendant is already preparing. He's tall, with sinewy arms and a narrow face. His expression is blank, not bored, not cruel, just procedural. You suppose if you had to scrape strangers' bodies all day long, you'd retreat behind the same mask. He gestures for you to stand in the middle of the room. You do. He pours a generous stream of oil into his hand, thick, dark, and warm, and begins to rub it into your skin. The oil smells faintly of rosemary, perhaps lavender, and something metallic that reminds you of blood and bronze. His hands are firm, methodical. He doesn't linger on any one part of your body. He works quickly, starting with your arms, then shoulders down your chest and back. It's not sensual. It's not comforting. It's clinical. Then comes the strigil, a curved metal blade, not sharp but not dull either, made of bronze, shaped like a flattened S. You've seen them before. Decorative ones hang in shops. This one is plain, slightly bent from overuse. He begins with your neck. The sensation is unsettling. The strigil scrapes against your oiled skin with a sound like wet leather. It pulls away sweat, dirt, dead skin, and oil in long, greasy ribbons. You can hear it more than you can feel it at first, a schlick followed by a plop, as the residue falls onto a small basin at your feet. Then your back, then your arms, then your legs. He's not gentle. At one point he scrapes too hard along your ribs and you twitch. He pauses, only briefly raises an eyebrow as if to say, "Really?" then continues. You wonder if he enjoys this, or perhaps he simply enjoys his job. You're not sure which would be worse. The worst is your chest. The skin there is tender, already pink from the caldarium. When the strigil moves across your sternum, it feels like someone peeling bark from a tree. You suppress a grunt, but he doesn't stop. Then your thighs, calves, ankles. The strigil glides along your skin like a bronze memory. You start to feel light-headed, like your mind is floating somewhere above your oiled, scraped body. Finally, mercifully, it ends. He sets the strigil aside. He nods. You nod back, not knowing if that's customary or simply reflex. You glance down and see the bowl beneath you, dark, liquid bits of skin oil filth. It looks like something you'd pour out behind a tannery. He gestures for you to move aside. Another man, older, steps into your place. The process begins again. You wipe your body with a cloth still slightly damp and step back into the corridor. The warmth of the tepidarium feels familiar now. Welcome. But you don't get to rest. Another attendant, different this time, stocky, bald, missing part of an ear, beckons to you. He points down another hallway. You follow, and you begin to hear it. Voices, raised voices, not in anger but in competition, debate, bravado. You catch snippets. Epicurus was a coward. Seneca knew nothing of virtue. Cato would have bathed in vinegar if you asked him to. You're entering the conversational chamber. Not an official part of the bathhouse per se, but inevitable. Here men talk, not in whispers, not in passing. They talk, loudly, passionately, naked. You enter a semicircular room lined with low benches and small marble stools. At least 24 men are seated, some reclining, some gesturing wildly as they argue. The topics range from politics to poetry, from taxes to thermodynamics. Well, what passes for it? A thin man with ink-stained fingers is quoting Virgil from memory. Another interrupts him to misquote Cicero. No one seems bothered by the fact that everyone here is bare-skinned, oily, and by now somewhat dizzy. You sit quietly in the corner. You try not to draw attention, but it doesn't last. A large man with a curly beard turns to you. "You there," he says. "What's your opinion on Stoic philosophy in times of crisis?" You blink. He smiles. "Ah, a thinker, are you?" You shake your head slowly. He roars with laughter, slaps his thigh, and returns to the conversation. A moment later, another man leans in and begins describing at length the intricacies of Roman plumbing. You nod politely. He continues for 23 minutes. You learn more than you ever wanted to know about lead pipes and sewage gradients. By the end, your brain is buzzing, your body is tired. You've been scraped, boiled, chilled, interrogated, and publicly discussed. You've lost all concept of time. But it's not over yet. Someone suggests massage. You hear the word unctors, the bathhouse masseurs. You sigh. You rise. You follow the voice that mentioned massage, though follow is perhaps generous. It's more like being swept along in a warm current. Your feet carry you through yet another corridor, arched and dim, the stone damp beneath your soles, the walls sweating from trapped heat. The corridor smells different here, less like water, more like bodies. Oil breath exertion, and oddly a faint trace of mint. You breathe in cautiously. There is something vaguely surgical in the air, like a place where things are pulled, popped, and rearranged. You emerge into a low vaulted room lit with red-tinged oil lamps. The glow casts long flickering shadows along the walls. In the center are long wooden tables, thickly stained, padded with bundles of old linen. You recognize them immediately. These are the massage tables. The unctors are already at work. You see them moving across bodies like sculptors, their hands kneading, pounding, pushing muscles into submission. There's no music, no incense, just the rhythm of breathing, the occasional crack of joints and soft groans. A slave gestures for you to lie down. You hesitate. The man on the table next to you is twice your size and is currently gritting his teeth as his attendant presses a knee into his lower back. You don't know if the man is experiencing release or spiritual death, but you obey. You climb onto the linen-covered table, the cloth warm and slightly damp. You lie face down, your skin still oiled and flushed from the previous rooms sticks slightly to the surface. The smell of herbs and human skin envelops you. You feel hands on your back. At first, the pressure is light. Palms move in slow, wide circles across your shoulder blades down your spine. It's not unpleasant. Your breath slows. Then the real work begins. Knuckles dig into the tender spaces around your scapulae. Thumbs press into the sides of your spine, rolling knots that feel older than your lifetime. The masseur finds muscles you didn't know existed and punishes them for their ignorance. You grunt softly. He doesn't respond. Your calf muscle twitches involuntarily as he presses his forearm along your hamstring in a single, unrelenting line. You clutch the sides of the table and whisper something that might be a prayer. The worst part is your lower back. He kneads it with such force that you wonder fleetingly if he's trying to access your lungs through your spine. And still you say nothing, because somehow this is supposed to be restorative. The masseur moves to your shoulders again, thumbs pressing into the base of your neck. You feel your head jerk forward slightly with each pulse of pressure. There's a popping sound. You're not sure where it came from, your neck, the table, or your soul. And then silence. He stops. You exhale. You hadn't realized you'd been holding your breath. He wipes you down gently with a towel soaked in lukewarm water. The cloth smells faintly of thyme and something like vinegar. It soothes the angry red streaks across your back arms and thighs. He nods once and moves on to the next body. You sit up slowly, feeling like you've been disassembled and reassembled in the wrong order. You swing your legs off the table. Your toes curl against the floor. Even the stone feels different, cooler, more textured. You stand, carefully. Every muscle is awake now, but not relaxed. No, not quite. They're alert, suspicious, like soldiers after a surprise inspection. You wrap the towel around your waist and walk back into the tepidarium. The quiet warmth greets you like an old friend. You ease yourself onto a bench, letting your heart rate slow. Around you, others recline and sip watered wine or chew dates. Conversations swirl like steam, loose and forgettable. You feel like you're floating, but it doesn't last. Because now, you feel pressure in your belly. A gurgle, a shift, a quiet but urgent internal warning. And then you remember the bathhouse has latrines, communal ones. You rise quickly. You ask a passing boy for directions. He gestures down a narrow hallway, darker than the others, less ornate. You walk it barefoot. The floor is gritty here, sprinkled with sand or ash. Your towel clings uncomfortably as you walk faster. You turn a corner, and you stop. The latrina is open, a long stone bench with evenly spaced holes carved into it. There are no stalls, no walls, just a row of seats and a shallow drainage trough underneath. And people are using it. Men sit side by side, knees spread, chatting about politics, complaining about wine, gossiping about their wives. One is reading a scroll, another is whittling a piece of wood. They don't even look at each other. You freeze at the threshold. Someone scoots over and gestures to the empty space beside him. You consider running, but the pressure in your abdomen says no. You step forward awkwardly, lowering yourself onto the cold, polished stone. The hole is crude. There is no seat, just space. Your thighs tremble slightly as you try not to think about the distance between your skin and ancient sewage. You try to relax, you fail. Around you, the conversation continues unbothered. You glance down. Beneath the bench, a narrow channel of water flows, gently carrying away what needs to be forgotten. A communal sponge on a stick leans against the far wall, soaking in a bucket of vinegar water. You stare at it. You pray you won't need it. You rise as soon as you can, grateful for gravity and discretion. You avoid eye contact. You walk quickly, not sure if you're flushed from embarrassment or heat. The air outside the latrines feels cleaner, fresher. You breathe deeply. You've survived yet another rite of the Roman bathhouse. But you're not done. You return to the main chamber and pause near the exit. The light outside has shifted. The sun is lower now. You've spent hours here, but it feels like a dream, a humid, oily, endlessly public dream. You should leave. But tradition says you don't leave the baths without food, or at least wine. You follow the scent of frying fish and sweet must. Just outside the bathhouse gates, vendors line the street shouting the virtues of their snacks. You approach a stall with a wide pan of oil bubbling atop coals. Inside, something thin and golden sizzles. The vendor grins. He offers you a small plate, 3 skewers of tiny fish, crisp and oily, topped with fermented garum and a handful of herbs. You nod, pay, and take it. The first bite is hot, salty, and deeply questionable. But you eat it all. Then you buy a cup of wine, watered slightly sour and served in a cracked clay cup. You sit on a stone step nearby and drink slowly, letting the day settle in your bones. Your body aches. Your skin is tight. You smell like oil and sulfur. Your stomach grumbles again, but you ignore it. The crowd around the bathhouse begins to thin. Slaves carry baskets of towels. Children chase chickens across the street. Somewhere in the distance, a lyre is being tuned. You lean your head back against the wall and close your eyes. You've done it. You've bathed like a Roman. And somehow you're still alive. Barely. You sit in stillness a while longer. The stone beneath you is warm with the lingering memory of bodies, sun, and time. It presses against your back like a gentle reminder that you're still here, still tethered to the earth, even as your thoughts begin to drift. Your fingers are sticky from the fish. Your breath tastes of sour wine and fermented sauce. Somewhere down the alley, a dog barks 3 times and then it's quiet again. But your peace is temporary. You shift slightly and feel the drag of your towel still damp clinging to your skin with the determination of a wet rag. The fabric has started to itch. A crust of sweat and oil forms where it rubs against your ribs. You sigh. It's time to return. You rise slowly, knees creaking, ankles popping like ancient hinges. Your feet are filthy now, bare soles against dusty cobblestone oil, mingled with street grime, specks of gravel stuck to your heels. You shake one foot, then the other, but it only helps a little. The sun has dropped further. Shadows stretch like lazy cats along the walls. The bathhouse looms behind you, quiet now, less alive than before its heat and clamour, having emptied into the street along with the last wave of patrons. You step back inside. The air is different, cooler, still humid but no longer thick with breath and chatter. The sound of dripping echoes more clearly now, without voices to soften it. The torches have burned lower. The warm glow has become a murmur of orange light flickering along the wet stone. You find your way back to the apoditarium, the changing room. Your steps are slower now. Your body is heavy not just from exhaustion, but from the weight of the day itself. A full Roman bathing ritual is not a passive indulgence. It's a gauntlet, a ceremony, a test of endurance masquerading as luxury. And now you've reached the final stage, the retrieval of your belongings. You round the corner half expecting the noise and chaos of earlier, but the room is nearly empty. Just a few stragglers dressing or arguing softly with their slaves. A young boy sleeps on a bench, mouth open, one sandal still dangling from his foot. Your cubby is near the far wall. You approach slowly. You reach in. And you stop. Because your bag isn't there. Your tunic, yes, rolled into a damp, slightly wrinkled ball. Your sandals, yes, though one has been chewed along the edge by something small and persistent. But your bag, the small leather pouch that held your coin, your dull knife and a folded towel is gone. You stand still for a moment staring at the empty shelf. You check the adjacent cubbies, left, right, above, below. Nothing. You look around the room. No one meets your gaze. No one looks suspicious. No one even looks interested. You clear your throat softly. Nothing. You speak louder this time, pointing toward your cubby, your words halting. My bag, it's missing. A nearby slave shrugs, his expression blank. You approach him. You explain again. He responds in Latin quickly with a small shake of his head and a phrase you don't catch, something about res privata. Private belongings. Not his concern. Another man, older, naked, except for a half-tied tunic, chuckles without looking at you. You left it in the open, he says. Amateur. You blink. But that's where they told me. Then you deserved it, he says, waving you off like a bad smell. It's Rome. You stand there, towel sagging, stomach sinking. You feel a sudden flush of heat crawl up your spine. Not the warmth of the baths, a different kind, shame, frustration, helplessness. You look back at the cubby as if willing your bag to reappear through sheer will. It doesn't. You reach for your tunic and shake it out. It's cold now and smells faintly of old smoke and vinegar. You pull it over your head. The fabric sticks to your damp skin. Your shoulders itch. Your sandals are a cruel joke, gravel embedded in the sole's straps, stiff from drying sweat. You slide them on anyway, and just like that you're dressed again. But not restored, not complete. You walk toward the exit in silence. Outside, the sky has darkened to a pale lavender. The stars have not yet arrived, but the moon is beginning to stretch its light across the city. The air is cooler now, and the breeze carries with it the scent of nighttime in Rome. Ash, figs, bread, sweat, and the faint bitterness of wine spilled onto stone. You walk slowly, and as you pass through the archway that marks the bathhouse entrance, you hear someone behind you mutter, "New ones always learn the hard way." You don't look back. You step into the street, and then you realize you're being watched. A group of boys sits on the wall near the alley snickering. One of them points at your feet. Another makes a crude gesture. You glance down. Your tunic is stained along the back. The towel you dried yourself with had traces of oil and soot, and now those streaks line your back like claw marks. You're not sure if it looks foolish, unsanitary, or just ridiculous, but they laugh all the same. You quicken your pace. As you turn onto the main road, your sandal catches on a stone and you stumble slightly. You steady yourself, breathing through your nose. You don't look up. You just walk. Past the tavern, past the bakery, past the stall where you bought your fish, now packed up and empty. Your footsteps echo a little louder now. No coin, no towel, no sense of pride. But you walk, because you have no other choice. Back at your insula, the crowded, many-floored apartment building where the city's working class live, you climb the stairs to your level. They creak beneath you. The man on the third floor is yelling again. Someone's cooking lentils with too much garlic. You reach your room. The door is still slightly crooked. The lock never worked. You push it open and step inside. The straw mattress hasn't moved. The bowl of water is still on the floor. A spider has spun a web in the corner since you left. You collapse onto the bed, the blanket scratching your raw skin. You stare at the ceiling. You smell of oil and vinegar. Your back burns. Your knees ache. And still, somewhere beneath it all, your body feels lighter, weaker perhaps, but not entirely broken. You let out a breath you didn't know you were holding. And then finally, you close your eyes. Because you survived, somehow. You lasted a day in a Roman bathhouse, but you wouldn't do it again. Not for all the garum in the empire. You sleep deeply, the kind of sleep that comes after muscle is pulled and pressed, after the body is boiled, chilled, scraped, and wrung out like old cloth. It's not a peaceful sleep exactly, more like a surrender, a full-body retreat. You don't dream. Or if you do, it's just vague impressions, wet stone echoing footsteps, the hiss of steam, laughter in another language. When you open your eyes, it's still dark. The world feels quieter than it should. Rome rarely sleeps completely, but in this moment, just before dawn, it holds its breath. Your body aches in new places. You roll to your side and stretch cautiously. Something in your shoulder pops. The blanket clings to your skin, damp with residual sweat. Your mouth is dry, your hair tangled. You feel both heavier and emptier, like you left part of yourself back in the bathhouse. You sit up slowly, blink a few times, and take in the tiny room around you. It's the same, of course. The basin of water, the cracked wall, the thin reed mat covering the window. But you're not the same. The bath changed you. You're not sure how yet, but something inside has shifted. Your skin is cleaner than it's been in weeks, maybe months. But more than that, you feel carved. Like the day took a chisel to your nerves. You stand and stretch again, groaning. Your muscles argue with the movement. They complain of yesterday's indignities, the scraping, the steaming, the communal shame of public defecation. You're not sure what hurt more, being scolded or being stared at while trying not to fall off a toilet bench. You move to the basin and splash cold water on your face. The shock is less jarring this time. Your body expects discomfort now. You pat your face dry with the edge of your tunic and lean on the windowsill, peering through the small opening. The city is waking. Far off, you hear the metallic clatter of carts on stone, the bark of vendors setting up, the creak of wooden stalls unfolding like sleepy insects. The first curl of baking bread wafts into the air, mingled with smoke and morning chill. You dress slowly. The tunic is stiff from yesterday's sweat and air drying. It chafes your back where the masseur's knuckles left invisible bruises. Your sandals are still grimy from the bathhouse exit. You don't bother to clean them. You consider staying in today. You consider eating something, lying down again, avoiding the world. But you remember the bag, the missing coins, the way no one cared when you asked for help. Rome doesn't wait for wounded pride or lost dignity. If you don't move, it moves past you. You tuck a small piece of bread into your satchel, stale, dry but edible, and step outside. The city is different in the morning, not quieter but gentler. The crowds haven't formed yet. The heat hasn't risen. There's a kind of permission in the early light, permission to move slowly, to occupy space without being shoved or shouted at. You walk with no clear destination, just motion, just rhythm. Your feet follow instinct through side streets and alleys, past shops just beginning to open. You pass a fountain where a boy is trying to wash a chicken. You pass a man sleeping beside his fruit cart, arms folded, a single grape still clutched in one hand. You walk past the bathhouse. You weren't planning to. You didn't even realize where your steps were leading you. But there it is, the balnet carved into the lintel. Familiar now. Strange how something so public can feel personal once you've bled into it. You pause. There's a man sweeping the entrance, pushing yesterday's mud and leaves aside with rhythmic, indifferent strokes. He doesn't look up. You think about going back in. You don't. Instead, you turn away down a different path, one you haven't walked before. Your body guides you now, or perhaps your pride. You pass another set of columns, a bakery, a temple, a group of women setting out vegetables for sale, a man sharpening knives on a spinning wheel. Then something catches your eye, a sign crooked and faded tonsor. The barber. You realize suddenly that your face itches, that your beard has become unruly, that your scalp is a mess of sweat-crusted hair and yesterday's bathhouse steam. You push the door open. The barber looks up, says nothing, just nods toward the empty seat. You sit. He ties a cloth around your neck and begins without ceremony. The razor is dull, the soap is sharp, the conversation is minimal. But the ritual continues. Hair falls in clumps to the floor. The scraping sound of the blade against your cheek echoes louder than it should. You stare at yourself in the mirror, such as it is just a polished bit of bronze on the wall, and barely recognize the person staring back. Cleaner, redder, sleepier, but still you. He finishes, wipes your face with a cloth soaked in wine vinegar, and steps back. You pay him with a single coin tucked into the hem of your tunic, the one you forgot you had yesterday. The irony stings. You step outside again. The sun is higher now. Rome is stretching, yawning, coming fully alive. You're not sure where you're going, but your body moves forward anyway. The day wears on. You eat a roasted fig stuffed with goat cheese, bought from a stall run by a woman with a mustache, more regal than any senator's. You sit on a step outside a temple and listen to a man read terrible poetry to a woman who isn't listening. You buy new thread for your sandal. You argue with a man over the price of an onion. You live, and all the while you feel your skin tight against your bones, clean scrubbed raw and marked by the bathhouse. At one point you pass a group of men talking. You catch part of their conversation, a debate over which bathhouse has the best caldarium. They speak with authority, with pride, as if the baths are a second home. You walk faster. You don't want to hear it, because the truth is, you're still sore. You're still confused. You're still in some way inside those walls, even now. And you realize something else. This is what it means to be Roman. To emerge every day a little more worn. To be boiled, beaten, robbed, and still keep walking. To go to the baths and come out changed, not cleaner, but clearer. You may not return tomorrow, but someday you will, even if only to prove to yourself that you can. You don't go back the next day. Your muscles won't let you. You wake up with a stiffness that feels ancient. Not the soreness of hard labor, not even the kind that follows a long march. This is the soreness of submission, the feeling of being reshaped by something you didn't fully understand. Your back aches in lines that trace the unctor's knuckles. Your calves throb from walking barefoot on stone and slipping on bathhouse tiles. And yet, your skin is softer than it's ever been. Your pores feel as though they've been vacuumed by Roman technology. You run your hand along your forearm and barely recognize the smoothness. You don't go back, but you think about it. The day moves forward slowly. You rest longer than usual. You eat flatbread with honey and crushed dates, and you lie on the floor instead of sitting on the hard stool that always wobbles. Your legs stretch in strange directions. Your arms dangle limply at your sides. You breathe deeply. Your nose still smells faint traces of oil and vinegar from the day before. Then a knock at your door. 3 knocks to be exact. Sharp, intentional. You open it. It's Caius, a man from your neighborhood. He's tall, loud, and always smells faintly of onions. He's not unpleasant, just persistent. He talks like someone who believes silence is a disease. You went to the baths, didn't you? He says, even before you can greet him. You nod slowly. I knew it, he grins. You look clean, uncomfortable. That happens the first time. You'll get used to it. You start to protest, but he waves a hand. Come, he says. We're going to the Thermae tomorrow. Not that small public place. Proper baths, built by Agrippa himself. You'll see what real steam feels like. You blink. You're not sure what to say. He pats your shoulder and laughs. Don't think too hard. You'll hurt yourself. And just like that, he's gone. That night, you lie in bed longer than usual. You stare at the ceiling, watching the torchlight from the hallway flicker through the cracks in the wood. You hear someone 2 floors below arguing about stolen bread. You hear a baby cry, a lute strumming lazily, and the wind rattling something loose on the roof. You also hear the bathhouse in your memory, the scraping of the strigil, the hiss of water on hot stones, the low laughter of men comparing bruises and philosophies. And for some reason, you can't stop thinking about the tepidarium, that warm room, that stillness, that slow melting of thoughts into breath and skin into stone. You exhale slowly. Maybe tomorrow. Morning. Rome smells different when you're nervous. The bakery's smoke seems heavier. The citrus peel crushed on the street seems sharper. The perfume from a noblewoman walking past hits your nose like a slap. Caius meets you at the corner. He's already sweating. His tunic is half tucked, and he walks like a man with a destination he's not entirely sure how to reach. This way, he says, trust me. You don't, but you follow. The Thermae of Agrippa looms ahead, massive marble and humming with human activity. It's not like the bathhouse you visited before. This is no neighborhood balnea. This is a monument, an institution, a city within the city. The entrance is flanked by columns taller than any building on your block. Carvings of Neptune and dolphins stare down at you with watery indifference. The walls gleam in the sun. Inside, the air is cooler than you expect. Not cold, just spacious. Less like a room, more like a cathedral of heat. There are people everywhere. Slaves carrying bundles of towels. Children running barefoot, chased by frustrated attendants. Elderly men in heated debate over the merits of cheese versus olive paste. You stand quietly beside Caius, who has already begun undressing. You'll need to leave everything he says, gesturing toward a long row of wooden cubbies, guarded by a man with one eyebrow and no visible neck. You hesitate, again, but this time you know better. You keep a coin tucked in your sandal. The apoditarium here is vast, wider, louder, more echoing. The mosaic tiles underfoot depict scenes of naval battles, gods bathing, and something involving a trident you choose not to interpret too literally. You undress slowly, trying not to look at anyone and failing. Caius has already wandered off. You place your tunic in a cubby, folding it carefully even though it doesn't deserve it. Your sandals you tuck underneath. You eye the attendant and meet his gaze. He nods just once. Maybe it means nothing. Maybe it means your things will still be there when you return. You step forward naked again, but this time less afraid. The first room is different. Not the frigidarium, not yet. This is the exedrai, a space for stretching, for exercise, for what Romans generously call light movement. It is not light. Men are wrestling, throwing medicine balls, twisting themselves into knots atop wooden structures that resemble ancient torture racks. You try one. You regret it instantly. You move on. Then the caldarium again. This one is larger, hotter, somehow denser. The steam is so thick it forms droplets on your eyelashes. You sit on the bench. A man next to you is humming an old song in Greek. Another is sleeping, sitting up, snoring like a lion. You feel your pores open. You think your lungs might also be sweating. The same cycle resumes: caldarium, tepidarium, frigidarium. But it's different now. Not easier, just familiar. The scrape of the strigil no longer surprises you. The communal toilets, well, they're still awful, but now you know to bring your own sponge. The massage is still painful, but this time you say softer and the unctor listens. Progress. You sit in the library afterward. Yes, a Bathhouse library. Shelves of scrolls, cushions along the walls, a slave quietly refilling oil lamps. You're not reading. You're just breathing. A man near you is reciting lines from Ovid. Badly. You don't care. You close your eyes. You let the heat wrap around you. You're not clean. Not exactly. But you're learning. You may not last long in a Roman bathhouse, but you're lasting longer than yesterday. And in Rome, that's the only direction that matters. You dream of marble. Not the kind in palaces or statues, but endless warm benches, slick with oil and echoing with the slap of bare feet. In your dream, the steam breathes like a beast, puffing and swirling through corridors, pressing against your skin like wet silk. You wake before dawn again. Your body feels like wax soft in some places, brittle in others. There are bruises under your ribs that pulse when you breathe too deeply. And yet you've slept. Not well, but fully. No tossing, no twitching, just heat and weight and silence. You sit up and stretch slowly, carefully, measuring the distance between comfort and pain. Your arms don't scream as loudly this morning. Your back has stopped protesting. Even your knees, traitorous, creaky knees, allow you to stand without insult. It's not ease, but it's improvement. You eat a fig with hard bread, chewing slowly, letting the grain scrape the inside of your mouth. You drink water from the cracked jug near your door. It tastes faintly of dust and limescale. You don't mind. You're almost used to the taste of old clay. You dress more deliberately today. You fold your tunic, smooth its lines. You check your sandals, retie the leather thong, scrub away the dried grit. You tuck 2 coins into your belt and tie it twice. You are going to the baths again, not because you must, but because something inside you whispers, go back. The streets are busier today, a festival of some kind, though you're not sure which god is being celebrated. They all seem to have their moment eventually. Children run past with painted faces. A vendor sells pickled olives wrapped in vine leaves. Someone is yelling about stolen chickens. You navigate the crowd carefully, your feet moving with more certainty than before. Your skin still remembers the heat. The therme looks different at mid-morning. Less golden, less sacred, more practical. Lines of men wait near the entrance, stripping off sandals and outer tunics. Slaves scurry in and out, arms piled with towels and cups and bundles of clothing. A boy is crying, someone took his towel apparently, and no one seems to care. You nod to the same attendant as yesterday. He squints at you, then gestures vaguely toward an empty cubby. It's almost a greeting. You pass through the same sequence. The apoditarium is still loud, still chaotic. The exedre is full of sweaty men grunting over ball games. The caldarium is less crowded than usual, and you find a corner to yourself sitting in the steam like a boiled olive. Today your breath adjusts faster. Today the scrape of the strigil feels almost welcome. You exchange a nod with the man who oils your shoulders. You speak not a word. You don't need to. The tepidarium holds you longer this time. You lie back on the warm bench, eyes half-closed, skin humming. This is where you begin to notice things, like how the steam curls against your eyelashes before slipping into the air, like how the walls weep in slow, patient drops, like how your heartbeat slows, truly slows, until it matches the rhythm of distant water. You listen. You listen not to words, but to the city inside the baths, to men breathing, to water dripping, to the stone remembering. At some point you realize you're no longer embarrassed, no longer self-conscious. You exist in the space the way steam does present unremarkable part of the design. No one stares at you now. No one snickers. You are just another body being softened, scraped, and restored. You are becoming Roman, not in speech, not in wealth, but in resilience, in ritual, in your willingness to face heat, humiliation, and humility, and return the next day anyway. You drift through the rest of the process like a feather in warm water. The frigidarium shocks you less now. Your skin remembers the cold. Your breath shortens but recovers quickly. Your hands no longer tremble. Your feet plant firmly on the marble floor. Even the latrina no longer terrifies you. You bring your own sponge this time. You time your visit between waves of gossip. You sit, do what must be done, and leave before anyone notices. It's the closest thing to triumph you've felt all day. Outside you sit with a small cup of wine and a paper-thin cracker topped with what the vendor calls smoked eel paste. It tastes like regret and salt. You eat it anyway. You lean against the stone wall of the bathhouse and watch the sky shift from dusty gold to pale blue. A breeze catches the hem of your tunic. Your skin cools in patches where the oil has thinned. You close your eyes. You listen to Rome exhale. It occurs to you in that moment that the bathhouse is not just about being clean. It's about becoming porous, about letting the city into your bones. Its heat, its dirt, its rhythm. The baths are where you stop resisting the weight of the world and start dissolving into it. You may still be a stranger in this city, but for today, for this one slow hour, you belong. You're not trying to survive the bathhouse anymore. You're using it to survive everything else. By now, the baths are no longer a curiosity. They are an orbit. You begin to organize your days around them like small planets pulled by heat and habit. You don't wake wondering if you'll go. You wake wondering when. Before lunch, after work. During that golden hour when the sun slides through the arches and the mosaics glow, your neighbors start to notice. You're standing straighter, one says. You don't smell like vinegar and onions anymore, says another less kindly. You don't argue. They're not wrong. Today you decide to visit a different bathhouse. Not the sprawling thermae of Agrippa, where senators and slaves share benches, but a smaller, less ostentatious spot tucked between a bakery and a temple to Fortuna. You hear about it from a man named Livius, a street poet who speaks in verse, even when asking for lentils. He describes it as quiet, cleaner, and full of men who don't talk too much. You like the sound of that. You arrive just after the noon meal, when most bathers have left to nap or drink themselves silly. The entrance is plain, no columns, no carved gods, just a wooden door that groans when you push it open. Inside, the air is warm and thick with citrus oil and faint smoke. The apoditarium is nearly empty. Two men nod politely as they tie sandals. A slave rests on a stool sharpening a strigil with slow, even strokes. You undress quickly now, no ceremony. Your hands know the folds of your tunic, the tie of your belt, the way your sandals like to cling to your heels. You store your things and keep your coin tucked in the hem of the cubby. Not hidden, just placed. You trust the space more than before. Or perhaps you trust yourself within it. The bath's layout is familiar but simpler. Smaller rooms, less marble, more wood, more plaster. The kind of place that doesn't seek glory, just warmth and routine. The caldarium here is intimate. Only 3 men share it with you, one dozing, one humming, and one staring into steam, as if it might answer an ancient question. The fire burns gently behind the wall, heating the air in waves instead of bursts. You lie back on the warm stone and feel your bones hum. You've stopped trying to name every sensation. You just let them pass. The strigiling is faster here too. The slave doesn't say a word. He oils your skin with hands that move like they've done this 1,000 times. His strigil is copper, not bronze. Warmer to the touch, a little more forgiving. The scrape feels ceremonial now, like punctuation. You exhale with each pass. You leave behind more than just sweat and dead skin. You leave yesterday's weight. You leave the noise of the city. You leave the questions you forgot how to ask. Afterward, you linger in the tepidarium, reclining on a narrow bench, lined with worn linen. The air smells of rosemary and old wine. You don't speak. You don't listen. You just exist. The room isn't quiet, not really, but your mind has gone silent. You feel the day drip off your limbs. Then the frigidarium. You slip into the cold with practiced calm. Your body protests, but not with the same violence. Now it's more like a conversation. Cold says, "Are you ready?" You reply, "Almost." It surrounds you, folds over your chest, sinks into your scalp, and then it lets you go. You rise from the water breathless but smiling. You never smiled here before. Outside, you don't dress immediately. You sit near the open doorway on a small wooden bench, your towel loose around your waist, skin damp but no longer dripping. The sun hits you in slants through the vine-covered trellis. Dust floats in the light like gold leaf. You tilt your head back and close your eyes. You feel something unusual. Stillness, not just in your limbs, in your mind. A rare, echoless moment, the kind that doesn't demand anything of you, doesn't pull you forward or remind you of where you should be. Just lets you rest, just for now. You overhear a conversation nearby, two older men discussing figs and taxes. One says something about how many baths a man needs to stay sane in Rome. The other replies, as many as it takes to forget what Rome smells like. They both laugh. You laugh too. Not loud, just enough for the stone to remember. Later you pass a mirror, a real one, polished metal framed in carved olive wood. You pause. You look, and for once you don't check for bruises or posture or signs of yesterday's foolishness. You just look. You see someone who has survived the plunge, the scrape, the heat, the shame. Not perfectly, not gracefully, but fully. You realize something else. It's not just the water that cleans you. It's the endurance, the repetition, the small act of returning even when it hurts, even when it humbles you. Especially then. You dress slowly. Tie your belt once, not twice. Leave the coin in your cubby without checking. You nod to the slave at the door. He nods back. Maybe he remembers you. Maybe he doesn't. But you remember him. You remember the steam, the silence, the space between breath and thought. As you step outside, the city rushes back in. But this time it doesn't crash. It blends. You're no longer walking away from the baths. You're carrying them with you. Heat in your spine, stillness in your chest, marble in your bones. You begin to understand something about Rome. It doesn't ask you to conquer it. It asks you to submit to its rhythm, to its chaos, to its heat, to its filth, to its occasional grace. You survive here, not by resisting, but by absorbing. Like limestone, like cloth, like skin after the 4th hour in a caldarium. You've learned this through steam. Not lectures, not scrolls, not priests. Steam. Today begins like the others. Bread, water, a few coins tucked into your belt. But now the path to the baths feels familiar. The crowd doesn't jostle you the same way. You've learned when to pause, when to sidestep, when to offer a nod that says, I know what I'm doing here. It's not confidence exactly. It's coexistence. You no longer move against Rome. You move with it. The bathhouse is alive with new energy. Children shriek somewhere near the latrines. A poet recites scandalous verses outside the entrance. Two fishmongers argue over whose eel stinks less. A man in a senator's toga passes you with a sneer. You let it slide. You've been sneered at by worse. You enter through the arch. Inside the apoditarium, a musician tunes a lyre. It's a strange sight music here. But it fits. The plucking of strings mixes with the scrape of sandals and the wet slap of feet on stone. You undress quickly now, thoughtlessly. You barely notice your own nakedness. No one else does either. Your things go into a cubby. No charm, no superstition this time. just hands that trust what they're doing. The attendant nearby doesn't even look up, just scratches his beard and mumbles something about the wine being too sweet this year. You smile. You walk forward. Today you begin in the caldarium. There's something comforting now in starting with the heat. The door opens and the steam hits you like an old friend. You step into it without flinching. You know how to breathe here slowly, deeply from the stomach. You know how to sit without slipping, how to let the stone warm you without burning. A boy pours water over the hot stones. The hiss is sharp cleansing. You close your eyes. The room smells of cedar and sweat. You sweat too. You think of nothing. That's the gift of this place, the silence beneath the noise. Later a man sits beside you. You don't turn to look, but you hear his breath. Even familiar. He speaks softly. You've been here before. You nod. So have I. Every day, 15 years, you finally glance at him. His skin is lined, his hair grey, his eyes the colour of river clay. It helps, he says. You don't ask what. You know. You leave the heat slowly. You towel off gently, respecting the new rawness of your skin. Then the strigil. The slave doesn't smile. He doesn't need to. His hands move with the precision of ritual. Oil, scrape, wipe. You don't flinch now. You exhale. You accept. In the tepidarium, you rest your back against the curved wall, its heat familiar, soothing. You tilt your head and look upward past the archways to where the light filters through an oculus in the ceiling. A single bird flies overhead. You wonder if it knows how warm the room below is. You wonder if it feels envy. A man near you is speaking about the stars. He gestures at the oculus as if it leads directly to Mars. You listen with half an ear. He misquotes Aristotle 3 times. You don't correct him. That's not your role here. You're not here to teach or debate. You're here to dissolve. You drift next into the frigidarium. A younger boy jumps in ahead of you, gasping theatrically. He thrashes. His friends laugh from the edges. You step in slowly. The water bites, yes, but you welcome the teeth now. They remind you you're alive. You lower yourself to your shoulders. You stay longer than usual. The cold settles into your joints, coiling there, whispering promises of clarity. You let it whisper. Afterward, you walk barefoot to the massage chamber, not because you ache, but because you know how it ends now, with the cloth soaked in vinegar, with the final crack of the back, with the silence after the pressure. Today the unctor is younger, less precise, a little too eager. He presses harder than needed. You grunt once, then laugh. He pauses, confused. You wave him on. Let him learn the way you did. Through repetition, through pain, through coming back anyway. After the bath, you sit at the same food stall as before. The vendor recognizes you. You again. You nod. You must be clean all the way to the soul by now. You shrug. He hands you roasted chickpeas and a cup of watered wine. On the house, he says. You blink. He winks. Come back tomorrow. You sit on a low wall nearby, eating slowly, salt on your fingers, steam still in your pores. You watch the sky change color. Rome exhales, and so do you. You've come a long way from that first bath, from the shock, from the shame, from the theft of your bag and your pride. Now you carry nothing, but you feel full. And as the sun dips behind the rooftops, you realize something unexpected. You're not afraid of tomorrow. By now, the bathhouse no longer feels like a test. It feels like a place you return to, a center, a rhythm. Rome has many faces: stone, sweat, smoke, silver, but the bathhouse is its breath. Every exhale laced with heat, every inhale full of ritual. And you are learning to breathe in sync with it. This morning you rise earlier than usual. The city is still fogged over, wrapped in the blue-grey veil between night and day. Even the pigeons seem reluctant to start. You move quietly through your space, stepping around a loose tile on the floor, ducking under the crooked lintel that always catches your shoulder. You dress simply. You don't bring much. You don't need much. You've learned that the bathhouse will strip away anything you try to carry, literal or not. You walk barefoot through the alleyways, just for today, just to feel the stone before the sun warms it. And when you arrive, you're among the first. Inside, the upper deuterium is half lit. A single torch flickers by the far wall. Dust floats in its light like tired insects. The slave at the door is dozing upright. You nod to him as you pass. He jerks awake briefly, then nods back and says nothing. You undress slowly. Your tunic folds neatly now. Your sandals rest beside each other, properly arranged. The cubby isn't just storage, it's pause. It marks the moment when you stop being one thing and become another. You tie a cord around your towel. You keep your coin in the same place as always. The attendant no longer watches. You are part of the room now. You start in the tepidarium today, the warm room, the middle ground, the breath between. It's nearly empty. Only two men recline at opposite ends of the long bench, both wrapped in steam and silence. One breathes through his mouth, the other seems to have fallen asleep, sitting upright, his hands clasped gently over his belly. You settle in your usual spot near the pillar, the one with the faint vine engraving. The stone at your back is warm, gentle. You close your eyes. The day has not yet begun, not truly. You let your thoughts drift just a little. A letter you need to write. A favor you owe. A woman you saw yesterday standing by the fountain, her hair tied with blue ribbon. You picture her pouring water over your shoulders in the caldarium. You picture yourself saying something clever and calm. You picture her laughing. You open your eyes. The steam curls upward like incense. The moment passes. The strigiling comes next. You ask for the older man this time. His hands know your back now. He doesn't ask questions. He oils your shoulders with a slow circular motion, as if winding a clock that ticks only in heat. The strigil glides down your spine. The scrape is softer today. Your skin is less resistant. It knows the tool. It welcomes the bite. You wonder what dead skin thinks about in its final moments. The caldarium is loud today. A group of young men are singing some half-military chant, beating rhythms on the stone benches. One keeps splashing his feet in the plunge pool. Another tries to balance a towel on his head like a crown. You don't mind. Their noise fills the space, but not your mind. You sit near the wall, eyes closed, letting the song become heat, letting the heat become thought, letting the thought disappear. You're not trying to control the moment anymore. You're letting it happen through you. Later in the frigidarium, You meet the cold like an old teacher. You enter slowly. You breathe evenly. You sink until your collarbones disappear. And this time you stay. Not because you're proving something, not because someone might be watching, but because the stillness you find there is clearer than anything outside. The water becomes glass, and in that glass you see yourself, not your reflection, but the shape of your own endurance. Not strength, not pride, just the ability to stay. You emerge dry yourself and wrap the towel loosely around your waist. You don't hurry. You don't check the time. There is no time here, only temperature. On your way to the massage table, you pass a man you've seen before. You don't know his name. You don't need to. He's always here around this hour. He always cracks his neck 3 times before lying down. Today he nods to you. Just once. You nod back. It is perhaps the purest kind of friendship Rome can offer. The unctor works in silence. His palms are rougher than usual. His motions more exacting. Your back loosens under his pressure. Your thighs tremble, but you don't flinch. He presses his thumbs into your shoulders until something shifts. Something physical, yes, but also emotional. You exhale through your teeth. He doesn't react. He wipes you clean. You rise. Afterward, you don't leave. Not yet. You walk the corridors slowly like a man tracing a route through memory. You run your fingers along the walls. You pause at each threshold. You listen to the baths not as a guest, but as part of their echo. You've lasted here longer than most. You've returned when others swore they never would. And you've learned the quiet lesson that no one teaches, that Rome isn't made of marble. It's made of repetition, of showing up, of staying. Outside the sun is fully risen. The city stretches. Vendors yell, wheels grind, birds circle the rooftops. You walk past a man selling grapes by the bunch. He offers one to you. You shake your head. I just came from the baths, you say. He grins. That's worth more than breakfast. You smile not because it's funny, but because it's true. You thought you had seen all the rooms. You were wrong. Today begins like the others. Breadwater coined the sound of your sandals brushing against the stone. The early light stretches long across the streets, cutting Rome into golden lines and cool shadows. You move easily through the crowd now. No more sidestepping nervously or shrinking at shouts. You walk with the current. You are no longer a stranger here, just a part of the city's pulse. The bathhouse rises in front of you like it always does. Familiar now, not majestic, not daunting, just present. Solid. Waiting. You enter through the same door, past the same attendant. Drop your things in the same cubby. The routine is etched into your muscles like a prayer. But today someone stops you. An older man draped in a towel skin red and glistening from the caldarium. He gestures toward a corridor you've never taken, one that curves away from the usual path. He says only try the hippocaust. Then he disappears into the steam. You hesitate. The corridor is narrower, darker. The walls are rougher, less polished. The torchlight flickers and jumps in strange rhythms. Still you walk forward. The air changes. There's no scent of oil or citrus here, no voices, just a quiet hum beneath your feet, like the stone is vibrating from somewhere deep below. You step into a small chamber. It's low-ceilinged and empty, save for a raised platform at the center and a grated floor beneath it. The room radiates heat, not like the caldarium where steam wraps you in softness. This is drier, denser, more elemental. You realize this is the hypocaust, the furnace chamber. You've heard of it. The hidden heart of the bathhouse, a place where hot air moves beneath the floors, where slaves shovel coals and the building breathes. But you've never stood inside one. Until now. You sit cautiously on the raised slab. The heat rises through the stone, wrapping around your legs, seeping into your spine. It's not immediate. It builds gradually like boiling water that doesn't ripple until it's too late. You inhale. The air tastes metallic. You imagine fire beneath your feet. Not metaphorical fire, real crackling flame channeled through hollow bricks and smoke vents. This is not a place meant for comfort. This is a place meant to remind you what comfort costs. You lie back. Your spine touches the warm stone. Your eyes close. And for the first time you picture not the baths above, not the mosaics, not the laughter, but the people below. The ones who tend the fire, who sweat in the dark, feeding the furnace that makes everything else possible. You wonder how many of them ever bathe. You wonder if they ever get scraped clean, or if the soot simply becomes a second skin. You don't stay long. You rise, heart beating harder than before, sweat pouring in lines down your ribs. You feel raw, overexposed, but also clear, as if you've seen the bones of the building, as if you've touched its heartbeat. You walk back into the corridor, back into the world of water and oil and ritual. But now it feels different. You know what lies beneath. Later in the caldarium, the heat feels kinder. You sit on the bench and breathe in the steam, but you're no longer fooled by its gentleness. You've seen the fire that fuels it. You understand that every sigh of warmth began as a fistful of coal. The man beside you speaks softly. First time in the hypocaust, you nod. He smiles without turning. Takes something out of you. You nod again. But it also puts something in. Afterward in the tepidarium, you lie back and feel the air differently. You imagine it moving beneath the floor, rushing through ducts carved by hands you'll never meet. You picture each tile as a lid on a boiling pot. It makes you respect the silence more. You drink your water slowly. You keep the cup after rolling it between your palms, feeling the chill of the liquid, the warmth of the room, the echo of the fire far below. You skip the massage today, not because your body doesn't need it, but because your mind is already full. Instead, you dress in silence. Your fingers move slower now, reverent. You tie your belt, you fold your towel. You glance once at the cubby where your things sat and whisper quietly, "Thank you." To no one in particular. To the stone, perhaps. Outside the street is bustling. Voices rise and clash. A dog barks. Someone drops a basket of apples. But you walk through it all untouched. Not because the world is different, but because you are. Because now you know what supports the warmth. You know where the fire lives. And somehow that knowledge steadies you. That night you lie in bed and feel heat still lingering in your bones. Not from the steam, from the furnace, from below. You understand Rome a little more. Not from its marble, from its smoke. The next morning, you wake with the smell of smoke still in your nose. Not real smoke, no flame burns in your room, no incense lingers, but a ghost of it remains. The kind of scent that weaves itself into your clothes, your skin, your memory. A scent you can't scrub off, not really. You stretch slow and deliberate. You expect the aches. They come dull, familiar like old friends who no longer overstay their welcome. You rise. You eat. You dress. You walk. Routine now. Not habit, not duty, but a kind of vow. A quiet contract with yourself. Return. Continue. Let the city shape you. You no longer resist the stone beneath your sandals or the wet air of the alleys. You embrace it. You've stopped counting how many days you've gone to the bathhouse. You only notice when you don't go. And today you go again. But when you arrive, something is wrong. There's a crowd gathered at the entrance. Not a mob. Just a loose cluster of men and boys all talking over each other. You catch snippets, thief gone, nothing left. The air smells different here too. Tense, still warm but coiled. You approach the gate slowly. Inside the apoditarium, the cubbies have been overturned. Towels scattered, belts and sandals mismatched. An old man sits on a bench holding a broken sandal and shaking his head. They took everything, he mutters. They came at night. The attendant at the door offers no explanation. Just shrugs and points to a pile of recovered belongings, most of them damp. Most of them not yours. You find a tunic that looks like yours, but it's not. The hem is stitched with blue thread. Yours had none. Your sandals are gone. Your belt too. You stand there for a long time, half clothed, half numb. And then you laugh, softly at first, then fully. Someone nearby glances at you confused. But you don't stop. Because what else is there to do? You've been stripped before. Of privacy, of pride, of expectation. This is just more of the same. Rome takes. That's its nature. And you now know how to respond. You walk into the bathhouse, barefoot tunic, loose head held level. You enter anyway. The caldarium greets you with open arms. The air is thick and familiar. The benches are hot. The men are quiet today, as if the theft has subdued even their boastfulness. You sit on the far edge alone, letting the steam rise around you like armor. Your feet press against the stone. No sandals, no barrier. It grounds you more than expected. The heat settles in your chest. You cough once, then breathe deeper. You think of the fire again, the furnace beneath the rooms. Who stoked it today? Were they robbed too? Do they know the thieves by name? You watch the steam swirl and wonder how long it takes for heat to forget. In the tepidarium, you meet a man who's never been here before. You can tell immediately. He walks like everything is unfamiliar, eyes darting, shoulders high, tunic clutched in one hand like a lifeline. He sits 3 benches away, trying not to touch the stone. You remember that posture, that fear. He catches your eye. Is it always like this? He asks. You think, then reply, sometimes worse, sometimes better. He nods. Then why come back? You don't answer right away. You could say something wise. Something about ritual, about cleansing, about Rome. But instead you say, because it teaches you how to come back. He looks puzzled. You smile. Let him figure it out the long way like you did. The strigil bites a little harder today. Your skin is thinner, perhaps. Or maybe the slave is angrier, rushed, made bitter by the morning's theft. His hand trembles as he pours oil into his palm. You don't blame him. The bathhouse takes from everyone, but also eventually it gives back. Not things, not towels or coins or dignity. It gives time. Time to let go of what you thought mattered. Time to remember what you are without it. Afterward, you sit by the fountain near the back. Few come here. The water drips slowly, one drop at a time, into a shallow pool that reflects the ceiling like a quiet mirror. You dip your hands in. It's cold, clean. You splash your face. Then drink. It tastes of copper and dust. It's perfect. Later you walk back through the apoditarium, still scattered, still chaotic, but the attendant offers you a towel clean folded. A peace offering. You nod. Take it. No need to ask where it came from. No need to ask why he chose to give it to you. Some things don't need explaining. Outside the sun is brighter than usual. The heat clings, but you carry it differently now. Not as burden, as reminder. That even when stripped bare, robbed, scraped, shaken, you came back. That the bathhouse wasn't just a test. It was a choice, and you made it again. You don't go to the bathhouse for a few days. Not because of the theft. Not because your body aches. But because something inside you says pause. Instead, you walk. You listen to Rome's morning voice markets opening like Yawn's brooms, scratching stone bakers humming as they knead. You sit at the edge of the Tiber and watch the boats drift slowly by, loaded with olives, bricks, fish, rumors. You eat dried dates from a napkin. You breathe. You remember. When you return, it's quiet. No crowd. No shouting. No chaos. Just the familiar creak of the wooden door and the sigh of warm air greeting you like an old coat. The attendant doesn't say anything, just nods toward the cubbies. You take one near the middle. You undress slowly. This time you bring nothing with you. No coin, no towel, no backup tunic. Nothing that can be taken. Only skin and breath. You start in the frigidarium. Yes, the cold one. You walk in with no hesitation. The pool glows pale blue in the light. The water is still. You step in. No gasp this time, no flinch, just entry. The cold is not punishment anymore. It is presence. You stay under longer than usual. Your body buzzes. Your heart slows. You rise again, baptized not by gods, but by endurance. In the tepidarium, no one speaks. 5 men lie stretched out in silence. You take your place among them. The stone beneath you is smoother than you remembered. Or maybe your skin has changed. A boy walks by offering water. You nod. He pours gently into a clay cup and leaves without a word. You sip slowly. The taste is unremarkable, but you feel it settle inside you like an anchor. You skip the caldarium today. You don't need fire right now. You need rest. You lie back and close your eyes, and for a while time forgets you. When you open them again, a man is sitting near you. An older man, maybe 50, skin marked by decades of sun and salt. He looks over. You're the one who laughed when they took your things, he says. You blink, then nod. He smiles faintly. That was good. We need more of that. He doesn't elaborate. You don't ask. He rises and walks away, towel slung over one shoulder like a cape. You wonder how long he's been coming here, how many thefts he's survived, how many times he's watched strangers enter and leave, never knowing how close they came to something permanent. Afterward, you dry off with a towel someone left on a bench. It's damp, slightly rough, but it does the job. You dress. Your tunic clings, slightly sweat steam, maybe the last memory of cold water. You don't adjust it. You let it cling. Outside, a small boy runs past you with a cluster of grapes. You smile, then notice he's barefoot and holding your old sandals. You open your mouth about to shout, then stop. You let him run. Let him carry the memory of your feet to new streets. You walk home without them. The stones are hot beneath your soles. But it doesn't hurt. Not anymore. You've walked rougher paths now. That evening, you sit near your window and write for the first time in weeks. Nothing important. Just names, rooms, temperatures, textures. You write down the things you might forget someday when you're far from here, when the baths are only a whisper in the joints of your knees. You write down the scrape of the strigil, the stillness of the tepidarium, the hiss of water on hot stone, the cold shock of the frigidarium, the silence between strangers. You write, I came empty and left cleaner than I expected. Rome took something, but gave back breath. You sleep deeply that night. No dreams, just weightlessness. Like floating, like water, like heat that doesn't burn. Morning arrives like a whisper. You open your eyes before the first sounds of carts on cobblestone, before the doves begin their cooing beneath the eaves, before the woman 2 floors down pours out her wash water and curses the neighbors. The city hasn't spoken yet, but your body already knows today is the last day. You don't know why. There's no announcement, no decree, no sign carved in stone or scratched in clay. Only a quiet certainty in your chest, like the steam is thinning from your lungs, like the oil is finally sinking deep enough into your bones. You rise without stretching. You dress without thinking. And you walk. The path to the bathhouse feels familiar in your feet, but not in your mind. You don't look around. You don't need to. You could trace the way blindfolded, guided by the shape of the stones and the scent of bread rising from the 5th stall on the left, by the rhythm of the wind that always turns the corner just before the butcher's awning. You reach the gate. It opens like always. But something is different. Inside it's quieter than you've ever heard it. Not empty, just reverent. The walls feel warmer, the air more honest. You move through the apoditarium slowly, like walking through a dream. The man who guards the cubbies sees you and raises an eyebrow, not in suspicion, but recognition. You nod once. He returns it. Your hands fold your tunic without needing instruction. You place it on the same shelf you always do. But this time there's no anxiety about its return. If it's gone later, so be it. You step forward wrapped in nothing but your own skin. You start in the caldarium today, as hot as ever. But the heat feels softer now. You sit on the far bench alone, eyes closed. The steam rises around you in slow curls, like stories told in a language older than Latin. Someone pours water over the coals behind you. The hiss doesn't startle you anymore. You just breathe. You remember your first day, the frigidarium, the shock, the panic, the shame. You remember the scrape of bronze along your back, the awkwardness of bare feet on wet tile, the sting of someone's laughter behind you. Now, you don't remember the faces, only the sounds, the feeling of surrender, and the quiet dignity of enduring something unpleasant and returning anyway. In the tepidarium, a child is crying. A boy of maybe 9 bundled in a towel, red-faced and sniffling. He clutches his tunic like armor. You recognize that fear. It's the same fear you wore your first day. The fear of exposure, of vulnerability, of being known too quickly. You pass by him without speaking. Then halfway across the room, you pause. You walk back. You kneel slowly beside him. You offer your towel. He blinks, sniffles, takes it. You rise and walk away without waiting for thanks. Some moments require no words, only warmth. The strigil today is not scraped by a slave. You do it yourself. You take the curved bronze blade, oil your shoulders, and draw it across your chest in slow, practiced lines. The sound is the same, soft, wet, ceremonial. But the feeling is different. You're not being cleaned. You're letting go. Each pass removes not just dirt, but memory. Not just oil, but expectation. You scrape away the voice in your head that ever said, "You don't belong here." You do. Now you do. In the frigidarium, you step into the pool and do not flinch. The cold wraps around you like a coat sewn from silence. You submerge fully, eyes open. You stare through the blue-lit water, watching the patterns of stone shift beneath the surface. When you rise, the air kisses your skin with gentleness. You no longer shiver. You dry yourself with a towel you find folded by the wall. You don't know whose it is. It doesn't matter. You wrap it around your waist and walk to the apoditarium one last time. Your cubby is empty. Not stolen, not neglected. Just waiting, like a promise fulfilled. You dress. Slowly, mindfully. You tie your belt twice. But not because you're afraid, because it fits better that way. Before you leave, you pause at the threshold. You place your palm on the wall. Warm stone meets your skin. You don't speak. You don't pray. You just remember. The cold, the fire, the silence, the scraping, the laughter, the bruises, the stolen things. The returned ones, the breath, all of it, held here, by this stone, by this place, by you. Outside the sun is high. Rome moves around you indifferent and infinite. Someone is yelling. Someone is singing. Someone is throwing water out a window. You walk barefoot for a while, then with sandals, then without again. It doesn't matter now, because you carry the bathhouse within you. Its heat, its ritual, its noise and its silence. You didn't last a day in a Roman bathhouse. You lasted many, and in doing so, you became more than a visitor. You became a vessel for sweat, for steam, for stillness. And as the wind rolls down the alley tugging at the corner of your tunic, you smile. Because now you know, you don't escape Rome, you absorb it, one breath at a time.